What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we are jumping in with some Destiny 2 news and updates. Firstly, Bungie have again adjusted the Call to Arms event, so they've now locked the scores in early, which means whatever high score you put down can no longer be beaten. They've also made adjustments to the scores themselves, so it's technically easier to get a top 1% or top 10% score, which is going to enable more players to actually unlock the competitive rewards for the event. So we'll talk about what's going on there. New reports on the state of Trials of Osiris, which, as many of us will know, is struggling with player population, but also a lot of cheating. Bungie have also made a new live update to the game, and then we'll talk about Renegades, upgrades for the Praxic Blade, a separate exotic mission that we're going to get, as well as new real estate being added to the portal, plus that copyright lawsuit that Bungie have been going through regarding the Red War campaign story. They have actually settled on, so for whatever reason, Bungie are paying off the writer accusing them of plagiarism, which is pretty bonkers. Quite a few things to talk about, guys. Firstly though, summer may be over, but there are some bushes which still need a trim. You almost certainly won't be dealing with this problem in your garden, however, because today's video is in partnership with Manscaped. Trusted by millions of men worldwide, Manscaped have taken their game to a new level with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, the all-in-one grooming kit. It features the Lawnmower 5.0 trimmer. This sets the standard in grooming precision, and you won't have to live in fear of nipping anything sensitive because it features dual skin-safe blade heads for peace of mind and accuracy. There's a bright LED light so you can see what's going on down there, as well as USB-C charging, great battery life, and the travel lock, which is awesome if you're on the road, and it's completely waterproof too, but don't do it in the pool. That's not cool, man. This package also contains the updated Weed Whacker ear, nose, and eyebrow trimmer that'll keep you polished and clean, as well as bonuses like the Crop Soother Moisturizer and Preserver. Yes, that's deodorant for your balls. It reduces chafing too, which is nice, and in the box you'll get the Shed travel bag for your new hardware, as well as the Manscaped Boxers 2.0, which are very comfortable. So, you might want this for yourself or your loved one, as it makes a great gift, and right now, if you use promo code HOUNDISH15 at checkout, you'll shave off a 15% discount and still get the free gifts. So it's well worth a look. The link is below, and thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring the video. In terms of a few updates here, Bungie say, in relation to the calendar last week, that it is not the roadmap they'd promised, simply a content calendar for the short term in Renegades. And they'd added that they are taking additional time to craft the longer term strategy for the future of Destiny before we share a full state of the game and multi-year roadmap next year. As we know, this is going to take more time to do anything meaningful, I guess, than what we'd originally hoped. We'll speak more about the content schedule in a minute, but other quick updates. Bungie said the team is getting a fix together for tokens in Contest of Elders, so something going on there. We should get another update for it soon. Then for Call to Arms, Bungie have been back and forth with a handful of changes. One thing to keep in mind, given that Call to Arms appears to be a recurring event every few months, is that the helmet ornament is essentially on fire for every activation of Call to Arms, if that makes sense. So we earn the helmet, and when we get it this time, it will have all the animation and the flaming mohawk going on, but it basically does have to be renewed every time Call to Arms comes around. Although, it'll be fine up until April, when Call to Arms is set to return. Fast forward to this week though, Bungie again have made some changes. So at reset, they've said, score thresholds for all activities have been adjusted. And as we can see for Salt Mines, top 1% is now 3.37 million, and top 10% is 2.4 million. I'm not going to read all of these out because it's going to send me insane, but you can see all of the adjusted percentage scores there, which essentially means they're going to be easier to beat or reach for players catching up at the moment. Bungie say score thresholds below top 10% have also been adjusted to further open up eligibility for the shader and transmat rewards. And the PvE changes are designed to protect the challenge of claiming the event's top emblem reward, but we also feel it's necessary to address the 550 power players that have been adversely affected by lower score bugs introduced alongside the power equalization changes, so it offsets that effect to some extent. And then the PvP change is designed to address several reports that we're seeing of players coming in just a few points short after completing very high scoring games. And to prevent further impact of the power changes, the Call to Arms score thresholds have now been locked. So they've basically locked them early. I believe it was meant to be later on this week. And that means they are no longer a moving target. On top of that though, they've deployed an additional live update that decreases the cost of tier 1 revive tokens and upgrades from Riven at the start of the coil activity. And you can see the values for those on screen. But additionally, they've expanded the interact radius of the daily shipment chest to address reports that its interface isn't showing. Can't say I'd encountered that one, but those are the changes that have gone live for Call to Arms. Bungie have had to do a lot of equalizing here, trying to offset the original power issue. Now, of course, they're trying to correct another power issue that was created after the first change, and I guess it makes it more palatable for players who are not in that top 1% of sweatiness, essentially. I guess ultimately, though, the reason this is happening is that the event was flawed from the beginning when Bungie tried to make the appropriate changes to it. Those changes were also flawed, so there's a lot of compromise going on ultimately right here. They have additionally said they unfortunately can't address the following issues in time for this event. That includes the high-value target spawns in the salt mines. And they say for future Call to Arms events, they plan to factor them in for consistent scoring. So there we go, those are the changes. Let us know how you're getting on with Call to Arms, whether you've reached the kind of score thresholds that you want. For me, I just want the helmet. Whether I get top 1% in one activity or just enough points overall to get the helmet doesn't really bother me, as I'm not massively interested in other things like the emblems. So that's where I'm at with it, and give me your thoughts on the changes down below. Another quick thing here, Destiny Bulletin reports that Trials of Osiris hits another brutal population drop. And this has been happening slowly for weeks at this point, but they do quote ZK Mushroom, who says cheaters can now insta-crash the game, leading to unfair suspensions. And the headline image for this is a giant guardian with Season of Plunder armor and the grey shader looking like a statue, which is pretty ridiculous. I mean, what the f is that? And how is it that Bungie are not doing more about cheaters, man? It's just bonkers. No wonder the playlist is struggling. Moving away from that though, many of you guys may remember, there have been legal proceedings between Bungie and a writer that claims that the Red War campaign, as well as Curse of Osiris and other elements of Destiny 2, including lore books, actually stole from their work. Many of us in this community didn't really believe there was much substance to that. It's been ongoing for a while, but an update on it, Bungie and the author's lawsuit is now officially dismissed, and a court order a few days back confirms that all sides have reached a settlement with a 60-day window to reopen the case if the deal falls apart. So yes, that means Bungie have actually settled, and I don't have details on what that settlement looks like, but they've agreed some kind of compensation, which is very interesting if Bungie indeed did not steal any of their work, right? The reality is we don't really know what's been going on behind the scenes there, but assuming that there was no plagiarism case here, I guess we can only assume that Bungie settled essentially to dampen the drama around this, right? To avoid it going into a court battle, then potentially having bad press come out of that, depending on the outcome. And given the recent plagiarism conversation around stuff in Marathon and other things over the years, and general sentiment towards the studio, I can imagine there may be a good business reason to do that, right? Just to avoid any further drama. That's the only reason I can imagine Bungie would pay them off if it was not because the plagiarism component was actually true, right? I know Bungie have got previous for that, so to speak, but it's a very interesting development right there. If we hear anything else about it, I'll let you know, but yeah, Bungie paid them off, assuming that they do not fall into some other kind of dispute around that, since there is a 60-day window of time to actually make this agreement stick. Give me your impressions of that down in the comment section. Otherwise, a bit more into the conversation around Renegades over the past week. There's been a lot of reveals and things. Interesting weapons, like a legendary sweet business, by the looks of things. This may also be inspired by Star Wars weapon. This is coming from the dungeon. Destiny Bulletin on X also put together all of the elements or colours revealed for the Praxic blade so far. And we've seen green and blue, as well as purple. I can't tell if there's a difference between the pink one at the bottom and the purple one in the dungeon above it, because it may just be a difference in the lighting. Plus there's a reddy kind of orange one on the top right. Then the dark saber. And I appreciate we don't really know if this is a variation of the weapon again, or what seems more likely, quite possibly, it is an ornament, given that the handle for the blade is also different. There's a bit of reminiscence to Trials there too, so could be that it's just an ornament. Also on the teaser image for the Praxic blade, we see the handle here with a couple of different coloured crystals on it, so this is obviously going to be part of the kind of upgrade process for the weapon. We can see the crystal actually slots in to the capsule at the end of the blade. And we know that through various bits of Renegades content, we'll be able to continue to upgrade and find things to slot into this, so interesting to see a little bit of a roundup of those. Then of course we got a bit more detail about some content items that will be added to the game in Renegades, some of it as part of the expansion, other things which are general updates to the live game, but it did indeed confirm an exotic mission for Renegades itself, not massively surprising for an expansion, but nice to see. And I guess that pertains to either the Praxic blade or the Wookiee crossbow. And then Portal editions include Solo Ops, Typhon Imperator, so I'm guessing that will be set on a Cabal ship as part of the expansion. We'll also see the return of Sunless Cell in Fireteam Ops. Then we'll get Arena Ops with 6-player activities, which includes stuff like Catch Crash, as well as the return of Vox Obscura and Derealize as Pinnacle Ops missions, so at least a bit of new or returning real estate for the Portal. And there'll be a reward and cosmetic refresh for Solo, Fireteam and Arena Ops, as well as Crucible and Pinnacle Ops, then Trials. And it mentions the Orders system, which is kind of a new seasonal challenges / bounties progression thing that lives in the Season Hub. And as we've mentioned, if you really dislike the portal, the leveling system, the tier system, or generally the investment systems for Destiny at the minute, we're pretty much going to live in this version of the game or a variant of it until the middle of next year or beyond, whenever the next expansion comes, if we get it. But there will at least be a reasonable refresh of the existing content when we get to Renegades. So share your thoughts about it down below. And for the moment, that is what we've got to speak about. If you've enjoyed the video, hit subscribe and I'll keep you up to date with more Destiny stuff. Plus a rating would really help us out. And again, share any impressions you have on the upcoming content in the comment section. But otherwise, thanks for watching and I hope you guys have an awesome day.